Hey, what up guys, and welcome to a replay analysis. This is a gold level ZvP. We're going to be looking at Lundrel today, our Zerg player. And in a replay analysis, the way these games go is we basically help the person we're looking at how to figure out what they're doing wrong, how to get better at this game, how to not make mistakes if they are making them, and so on and so on. So let's see what Lundrel's doing. So far, he's fine. The only thing that I can say 1,000 times, I've said this so many times before, but this mineral saturation you have going on right now is garbage. And you're doing nothing right now anyways, so you might as well try to fix it. I really want people to, in their mind, gain an understanding of just looking at a base and going, what is a close patch and what is a far patch? People have to start doing this. They really do, because it's so bad. This is something that a high-level player will never let happen, and a lower-level player will always let happen. But you don't have to let it happen because it's so easy to fix. This is not even something that's like hard to do. Right now, what I see on your patches, if I go from left to right, you have 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. And a lot of those 2s are far patches. And one of the 3s is a far patch. This is some really shitty mining you got going on right now. And it's not guaranteed ever as to what it's going to be. Because if you let it just automated split or you try to split it, whatever, it's always a little bit of a fucking like a slot machine roll where it's like, what are we going to get on each mineral patch? What's it going to be? So you don't know really what you're going to get. So you always have to fix it. And when you're in the first 30, 40 seconds of the game, it is so easy to fix it because you're doing nothing. Like, let's look at your APM right now. So you have 83 actions per minute at the current moment in time. And like, what realistically, like, what is that? And I'm not saying that's too much. Like, at this point in the game, for me, in my game, at 20 seconds, I probably have 500 APM. I'm just fucking spamming like crazy. But what I do though, is I do go single. Or okay, let me say it like this. Double, 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 double. I make sure those 4 patches have doubles. Always. And I always look at the far patches, which is middle patch, and the 2 far patches over here. I look at those first and go, how many are on that? 2? Let's split. And the reason why you should look at these first is because if you have 12 drones and 8 patches you want to saturate, you don't have to look at your close patches to know that they do or don't have double drones, because you should automatically know if your far patches have double drones at this point in the game. It guarantees your close patches don't have double drones. Because if you have 12 drones and you have 8 mineral patches, the exact math on that means that every close patch you have could have 2, and every far patch you have could have 1. So you should immediately look at your far patches when the game starts and go, are there 2 here? Yep. Fucking get off that patch. Get off that. Get off. Get off. Get off. Go to a close patch. This is so much minerals you're already missing out on. And this is exactly why I'm not going to be surprised this game if this happens. This is exactly why, if you're a Zerg player and you go like, ah, dang it, he blocked my natural. Damn. That's why. This is, you're already, like I would say, already by the time you're going to mine enough minerals to get 16 hatchery going down, you're going to be getting there about 4 seconds late now. Just like 4 seconds late. You're going to be behind by probably like 20 minerals already, or like 30 minerals already, about with this mining being this inefficient. Like this triple drone one is really bad. But the fact that you have only half of your close patches good stacked and half of your far patches stacked, it's not ideal. And like this, the reason why this is relevant, and people might be like, ViBE, who fucking cares, man? Who cares? I mean, it sets, like, for instance, something like this blocking your natural, that is a big deal. That does matter. You should care about that. Every Zerg player who gets blocked to the natural because the probe's there and you want to take an expansion there, that sucks ass. You definitely don't want that to happen. And we're talking about mining inefficiently for like the first minute of the game. This is a pretty big deal. We'll see how long it lasts, but I would not, like I said before, I would not be surprised if your natural gets blocked now, because this is inefficient mining compared to what it could be. And now you have a second patch in the middle with 3. Oh god, it randomly does it. That's what I'm saying. It's RNG. I know you're not doing this on your own. It's just randomly done. But if you never take control of this, this is even worse now. You have 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. This is fucking really bad. Having 3 on a patch at the start of the game is I'll just say this. Having 3 on a single patch is so much worse than having even 2 on a far patch. And, like, before you saturate a close patch, is what I'm saying. Like, so the best case scenario is you get 2 on every close patch. Not as good, but still okay. But it's not as good, though. Having 2 on every far patch and 1 on every close patch. But having 3 on a patch when you have 1 on other patches is really bad. That is some inefficient ass mining right there. Because at least you can say if you have 2 on a patch, you're still getting 100% efficiency. It's just a little less efficient if it's further away. But if you have 3 on a patch, it does not get 100% efficiency. There's always a moment where the drone's going, okay, now I can start mining. Okay, now I can start mining. Okay, now I can, like, half its fucking mining is just deleted when it's there. So it's like we're throwing minerals in the trash can repeatedly, over and over and over and over. Because it's not, like, you're not literally losing the minerals. This is the last part I'll say, then I'll move on from this. You're not literally losing the minerals, like, in terms of, like, they're not just getting deleted from the mineral patch, but you are losing time when you should have them. And that is something you can never get back. And that will fuck you over in every game you play if you never fix this. If this happens to you. So he didn't even scout you, which is fine so far. It's fortunate for you, because that was, you know, like, this is going to guarantee your natural's going to go down late. So there was a higher chance you could have been blocked. But, I mean, still, your money's going to suck all game now. Like, if this is going to be like this the whole time, this is going to be painful for your economy. Okay. So we're doing beta jam. So from what you've seen so far, all I can say that's weird about his build, again, you shouldn't be looking at any of this. If you're in gold, you should just go, oh, cool, natural. That's all I want you to look at. But I'm just going to throw it out there, and I'm going to say something really fast. This is not applying to Gold League, though, but this is something that anyone who's watching this can, like, critically think about. This is fucking really, really, really gas heavy. Look at your natural. And I'm just going to throw it out there and say that it's very realistic for Zerg to have a little bit of a faster saturated natural than Protoss at the very early stage of the game. Only because you're going hatchery first, and the Protoss most of the time doesn't go Nexus first. So, like, it's more likely that your 5 drones, it's common that your 5 drones will be more than his 5 probes at his natural. That's just... Protoss kind of starts to pass you, though, once Chrono Boost starts coming into effect, and you start making more buildings, like more gases and more tech structures, until about, like, mid-30s, and then usually Zerg takes the lead again because injects become more powerful than Chrono Boost, as long as you're not making, like, mass lings or something. But what I'm saying here, though, is you have barely any drones in the natural, and this dude has a fucking gas going down already. This dude, it wants to tech. He either wants to have a really inefficient build, or he wants to tech really fast to something. So I would already be thinking to myself, this dude is probably going to open up with some fucking weird-ass DTs. He's going to probably go for a really weird, like, Void Ray opener. He might even rush carriers or some shit. Who knows what he's going to do, but it's probably going to be tech-related. And it shouldn't matter to you. Like, again, this is Gold League, so if you just macro, you'll be fine. But that's already what this looks like. This is so early on gas. Keep making them dronies. Drone, baby. Double Overlord, that's a bit much right now. That's a little bit too much, but yeah. It's not the worst. It's just going to be a bit much. You definitely don't need that many that fast. But it's better than supply blocking, so it's the lesser of 2 evils. Making more overlords than you need is better than making no overlords when you need them. Keep making drones. I love it. And now you just spent all your larvae, so right now you should be building your roach warren. Because, like, as soon as you have the money, because you just spent all your larvae. You should definitely be making that roach warren, like, right now. Okay, good shit. Nicely done. And now you should be making your gas. As soon as you spend all your larvae again, make that gas. Make that gas, boy. Your gas is a bit late. Tiny bit late. Not the worst, but it's a tiny bit late. Because now you're gonna, like, ideally what you want to hit is 16 drones in the middle lane, which is nice. But yeah, it's fine. Your gas is not, it's like respectably late. It's still okay. It's not the worst. And you're making 7 more drones. You should definitely be taking your third right now as you start roaches. Like having a drone already going there. Your creep spread's nice. Overall, I'll say this. For gold level, you're doing great. For your opener of your build, everything is going on point. I don't want to be too critical on you and be like, what are you doing? Other than your fucking mineral saturation, that was a big no-no. But other than that, you're doing great. Everything is timed well in terms of how it's supposed to go. You're doing things at the proper timings of everything. Your gas was slightly late, but it's very minor because you still took it at a relatively proper time. Mostly for Gold League, you're crushing it right now, up to this point. What rank is this? This is Gold League. Now, this is the first problem I see with you. You're falling apart now. What are you doing with your larva? This has not just been started. You've had this larva sitting here for 7 seconds. What are you doing with your larva? You're starting to fall behind now. Like this is becoming a blunder. Holy God. What did you make? 2 roaches and 8 drones. I'm glad you made, like, I would say a respectable number of roaches would have been to have made, like, between 6 and 8. I would have been okay with that. Either way. But you just lost right there. I mean, you lost seconds on whatever units you're going to make, and if they're drones, you lost some time on them. It's not the most impactful thing right now, because those would either be long-distance mining your third or oversaturating your main or natural. It's not the worst. It's not obviously ideal. It's not ideal to leave larvae sitting there. But you have now already lost 2 larvae. You waited so long on that inject. 10 seconds. You just literally wasted 2 larvae right there. You're now 2 larvae down from where you could have been a second ago. Just because you let the larvae sit there. You didn't get the automation there, so it's not great. And we're talking efficiency, right? So that's going to fuck you. Are you making a bunch of overlords? Okay. You gotta be careful about this. You're also supply blocked. This is why I don't want you, gold players, anyone who's a Zerg player, you guys really, this is a bad habit. Don't ever do this. This is a really bad habit. Do not get in the habit of cranking out groups of overlords and then forgetting to do it for a long time, and then crank out groups of overlords and then forget to do it for a long time, because you didn't supply block earlier, but you made groups of overlords. You made a multiple overlord section when you definitely did not need it. And like I said, that was a lesser of 2 evils. Now you're making a group of overlords when you are supply blocked. And obviously you don't want to hit this at all. So you need to get out of the habit of supply blocking by getting out of the habit of making groups of overlords. Because what this does to you is it reinforces your forget about overlords mindset repeatedly. I'm going to turn the music down slightly. I feel like it's a little loud. I don't know. Maybe my sounds are really loud, but it sounds loud as fuck to me. I need you to definitely get in the habit of, like, every time you inject your base, like, as not as they pop off, every time you inject it and you already spent your overlords, look up here and just look at it for a second and go, Do I need supply? Like, are you close to it? If the answer is yes, just make an Overlord. If the answer is no, make it drones and then either you're gonna make Overlords one of two ways. You're gonna make it in the inject, or you're gonna make it in the fucking automation of larvae spawning out of the hatchery. But I don't want you to be like, I haven't made Overlords in a while. Hold the Overlord key down on a whole larva inject. Okay, we're good for a while. Oh, we're supply blocked. Oh, larva inject just popped off. Overlords. Here comes 8 more. Like, it's not good play. That is late. All that does is it reinforces lazy fucking macro. That's all it does. It's definitely not. It's a bad habit to develop. And if you ever see a high level player have that habit, that is a fucking bad habit. That dude is playing at a handicap at high level because he has a bad habit that hasn't ever been fixed. That is a fucking bad habit. So don't try your best to not let the habit develop for yourself, because this is not like you know what I'm expecting to see. I will not be surprised if you don't do this. I'll be very happy, but I am not going to be surprised if but the time comes when you hit the supply limit of what these 5 Overlords are about to give you. I bet you're going to supply block again, because you're not putting the rotation cycle in your mind of going, how much supply do I have? How much supply do I have? You never look at this probably. I bet you probably barely look at it. And you made 2 more while you were blocked too. So you made a total of 7 Overlords right there, because you made 5 and then 2. That's a bit rough. And now you have like this big 50 supply cushion that you'll hit eventually. Okay, and now keep in mind too, with beta GM style, the way I would prefer you to do it is as soon as you start saturating your third base, I don't mind that your long distance is mining it, that's fine. But as soon as you start saturating it like this, like you got a lot of drones going to it, grab a drone from your third, not from your natural, from your main. Just grab a drone that's going to your third and go, let's make a hydrogen. Grab another drone and go, let's make a second Evo chamber. I did this every time in beta GM. It made it super easy. You just grab, you don't do it with the first drone that goes to your third. You do it once you have made maybe like 10, like you have right here. Like you have plenty of drones here. Once you have like a decent amount of drones, like once you've basically been able to spin your larva, that is the real reason why you do this. You don't want to do things too often, too fast to make your larva sit there all day. Like what's happening again right now. You spin your larva, and as soon as they're spent, you throw down that hydrogen with one of those drones that's going to go to your third base. When you have like 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range. You grab another drone and make an Evo chamber. And then you start getting Hydro upgrades and your Carapace upgrade. And usually your Carapace upgrades should start around the time your +2 weapons starts. That's how you can tell you've timed everything kind of properly. And if it doesn't start right around the same time, it means you should be starting it slightly after. And you can do this, again, what you're doing here, I dislike this. You do the same exact thing with your gas and your main. You grab a new drone that pops out of the hatchery, eventually when you're ready to do it, when you're around the time when you take the hydrogen, and you make your gas here with one of the new drones. You don't rip drones off mineral lines, because if you don't fix this for a long time, this is bad. And also, remember how I talked about getting 2 per patch on the main base? Ideally, you do not want to disrupt that. You want to make sure you're good, because what you just did is you just completely exposed your closed patch. This has 0 fucking drones on it now. Do I think it's going to stay that way forever? No. But this is not good on your economy. The shit like this slows you down. There's no need for this. You could have just grabbed a new drone that popped out. Like these drones right here. This drone right here could have been a fucking new building. These drones could have been, or these are roaches, but you get my point. You now have 13 drones in the spinner line. I hope it does not take you very long to fix that. Because if it does, this is really bad. This is just inefficiencies right here. And now you have 3 drones that just spawned that are rallied to your third base, and they're going to go all the way to your third, all the way down here when they spawned here. And now you have 10 drones in the middle. Dude, you cannot do this. You can't do this. Your economy is starting to blow balls. Big time. Big ballolas. Big balls. Don't get 16 on your mineral lines and don't rip off. Make new drones saturate gases, and new drones make your buildings. The only time I would ever say it's okay to not make a new drone make a building is your Roachhorn and your Evo chamber. And the reason why I say that is because you're doing that as you saturate your natural. So keep this. This is some easy peasy lemon squeezy logic here. If you're currently in construction of a base, in terms of saturation, if you are if you are currently in the process of getting 216 on a base, it is okay to rip a drone out of that and make your building if that's when you need to make your building, like the Roach Horn and the Evo, because you don't make this when you're fully saturated. You make it after your first inject when you probably have like 8 drones on it or something. It's okay to rip a drone off and build a building there because it is not optimally saturated. But the second you have hit 16 on your mineral line, you want to kind of let that be so it can properly saturate for a long time. You don't want to keep ripping and fucking ruining it repeatedly by ripping off and saturating your gases, ripping off and making buildings like you did here. This fucks you so bad. If I look at your economy right now is 57 drones at 616. And if you have ever heard me quote this before, you can be at 66 by 6 minutes. You could have had more drones than you do now 16 seconds ago. And the reason why this is happening to you is because of the fact that there's a couple of reasons. One is the first one we covered, which is your oversaturated mineral lines that were, not ideal. Like, fix that shit when there's nothing going on in the game. Number 2 was your I was like, what was number 2? Your number 2 was your fucking larva that sat there multiple times, and you're like over making of overlords. Like, this is the kind of shit that it does to you. It's not free. You lose larva by letting it sit there, and then you make so many fucking overlords and you don't need them. It slows down your economy. This is a bad habit to develop. And the last one is shit like this, where you just rip off the mineral line again. You're like, fuck it. Let's rip off that mineral line, boys. Let's do other shit with our drones. Like, this is not ideal. At this point now, you're making too much gas with too few minerals. Because you have all 6 gases saturated. I imagine more drones are going here in a second. But, yeah. And now you ripped off mineral line here too as well to saturate the gas. So you're down on drone saturation on minerals by 9 drones. And you're up on all your gases. You have all your gases fully saturated at this point. I mean, I'm glad you're still making drones though. That's good. We'll see how long it takes you to fix the saturations. But yeah, this is shouldn't go this way. These last drones should be filling in the gas, not refilling in your mineral lines. Once you hit 16, you let it be 16 on the mineral line. And now you're oversaturated your third base and you undersaturated your main. Again, we'll see how long it takes you to fix this. This is shit that you really got to be careful about. This is really bad. And you're taking more drones off again. Fix that shit like ASAP. So you didn't supply a block, but how many overlords did you just make? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I do not mind that you just made 2 overlords. I am proud of you. I like 2 overlords. Once you start getting the range of like, you're like, you know what? I'm within like 20 supply, 25 supply ish. I know it's 24, but yeah, you get my point. The point is, you're gonna be, if you have multiple hatcheries being injected by multiple queens, and you're actually at that drone saturation where you feel confident, and you're about to start cranking out double supply costing units, your supply is going to start going super fast. It's going to start cruising up there. So 2 overlords at this time, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's actually good. That's good overlord timing. So keep doing shit like that. The more bases you get that are active, and the more expensive in supply units you're going to make, the earlier you should make them to keep your supply going. But doing like 2 at a time, 2 to 3 at a time, once you're like 130, 140 supply, 1 at a time when you're a sub 100 supply, if you can do that, you're fucking great. That's amazing. The only time you should ever really make 2 at a time in the early game is honestly when you're getting ready to make the roach wave. Like right after you saturate 2 bases, you probably want to have like a little bit of an extra supply cushion because you're about to make 16 supply in roaches, which is like 8 roaches. Does that make sense? Like the higher supply costing your larva is, the more of an overlord supply cushion you should have. The less supply costing your units that you're going to make are, like drones, the less cushion you need to have. So back when you had like a 50 supply cushion when you were making drones, it made no sense. But now that you're about to make a bunch of hydras or roaches again, it makes sense again for the supply you're at now. So you're still oversaturated here. This base is ideal. This base is massively undersaturated. This base is well timed. Your 4th base is good. I like it. And now you're making Hydras. You have a Carapace upgrade started. You have +2 weapons started. You have 80 drones. Not bad. You're still spreading. Your creep is okay. Your creep is good for gold league. I'll say that. Your creep is definitely on par for gold. Like it's a bit above gold, I would say. And now here comes the Hydras. I mean, the carriers. Then now your Hydras are also spawning. So you could beat this army. 100% you could beat this army. If you just clean up your macro a little bit more. As I said, your build's behind. Your build is behind. And now here's another problem I could see you having. This is the only time I would ever say, like if you macroed, I'll say this. If you macroed properly, you could micro nothing. Your rally points could be where they are, and you would have been fine. You would have been fine. 100% you would have been fine. Because you would have already had Hydras here right now. And the other Hydras you were making would have been reinforcing the ones you already have. Now, you did do something a little risky as well. If you remember what I said, you did not do this. And what I said was, when you play beta GM, usually what you'll do is you'll go 2 bases and make about 8 safety roaches. You'll go 3 bases and make safety units up to about 120 supply, and then you will make the final drones up to 80, and then you will max out. You made safety roaches on 2 bases, and you went drones all the way to 80. Now, this is greedier than what I just said the first time. You just skipped the whole fucking safety round after the 3rd base saturation. You skipped it entirely and went drones for a 4th as well. And if you feel confident to do that, you can do that. But you got to be really efficient about it because, like I said just a second ago, you would have been fine if you macroed on point, but you didn't for multiple reasons we already explained. So you don't have Hydras here yet, and now what's going to happen is like I said, the main thing I want to make you understand is if you had Hydras here already, Hydras engaging carriers. If the carriers are going to initially engage the Hydras as they like the Hydras are there as the carriers start engaging, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is what their interceptors do. They don't go 8 all at once. But if you engage carriers after it's been allowed to engage something else for like the last 6 seconds or so, when it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't actually do 1 interceptor per second. It does 1 interceptor every like 0.5 seconds or like every 0.3 seconds. It's relatively fast. But if you engage carriers after they've been allowed to fight something else for a while, what's going to happen is your Hydras are going to engage a full fucking outside of the carrier interceptor army. They're all going to be out already. And all the interceptors are going to go, oh, there's a Hydra. Let's all rotate and go one-shot that Hydra. And one-shot that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. And the carriers are going to fucking roll your Hydras like crazy. So the best way to fight carriers is to have something that can kill the interceptors, especially in the form of Hydras, which is what you're making, as the fight's going to start. Now you haven't, though you don't have Hydras here, so you're doing nothing to kill the interceptors as it starts fighting you. You're just, what's happening is the carriers are being allowed to just jump all over the roaches and fully pop out of the carriers. And then, you know, as your Hydras come over here, they're going to engage. So again, if you macroed properly and you had Hydras here already and they started killing interceptors and more Hydras came over to reinforce, you would have been fine. You could have A-moved and you would have been totally fine. You would have not given a fuck. But now what's going to happen is what I expect to happen is the carriers are going to be fully out of the interceptors are going to be fully out of the carriers. Your Hydras are going to rally point right there, which means they're not going to attack anything until they arrive, which means you're going to lose probably half your Hydras before they even shoot a single shot. Because again, I don't require you to micro and be the GM. You don't have to micro. But you're losing this game because of macro. Because you should already have Hydras here killing the interceptors right now. You should 100% have Hydras right now. Like your macro, again, was poorly paced up to this point for the reasons we explained. And all that's going to happen now, if this did happen, you do have to do something now because this is definitely going to make you die. The way you would fix this is you would go like this. Hatcheries, re-rally to like right here or something. And all like select all army, like not a move, but move command like right there. Get the fuck away from the carriers. We need Hydras to like reconverge, get together so that we have a chance to not just walk in and die, walk in and die, walk in and die. Because I'm going to hit play right now and I guarantee that's what's about to happen. Every Hydras you make is going to continuously walk right there and they're all going to die as they walk there. Okay. You actually did the better thing of what I recommended you to do. You actually relocated them somewhere else. However, the problem is, like I said before, all the interceptors are out of the carriers. So now you have less hydras than you should because you didn't macro it out as well as you could have in the early part of the game. You were behind. And you're also, you're losing hydras as they arrive because all the interceptors are out of the carrier now, which means he's just popping your fucking hydras. Every second the carrier looks at hydra, it's fucking dead. Now, at this point, here's what you'd have to do now. At this point now, the best thing you can do for yourself, when the carriers are in between your bases like this, if you rally point to a base, it means your third is going to run through the carriers and die every time. So the best thing you can do right now, with this being a major problem like it is now, I would say is re-rally your hatchery to the back of the mineral line or something. Re-rally this hatchery to the mineral line. Re-rally this hatchery to the mineral line. Re-rally this hatchery to the other side of the mineral line, whatever. Don't rally through the carriers. You would have to do that right now. And then maybe even make fucking a spore or 2 spores at every base and maybe pull your queens. Like, just go base, click, base, click, base, click, base, click. Hold shift the whole time. And then when you're ready to attack the carriers, bring your queens too. And go queens, attack that. Select army, attack that. And make new queens if you're going to do this. The fact that you've let it get to this much of a problem is already really bad. It's already really bad that you've let it get this far. And the reason why you let it get this far is because of your macro. Again, the reason why everyone has problems in lower leagues is because of their macro. You should not feel like, well, ViBE, I got my money spent down to 120 at one point, or like 150, and the reason why it's high right now is because I'm about to make another round of hydras and my injects just popped off again. So I'm actually spending my money great. How do you counter this? Your pacing of your build was just behind. So, like I said before, with a lot of people that may or may not know this, macro has 2 sides. There is not just spending in macro. There's also generation in macro. And if your generation is not good, it's going to be really easy to spend your money. And it might make you feel like you're macroing like a fucking boss, but you might generate like fucking garbage. Whereas if you generate really well, it's harder to spend your money because you have more of it. And you're getting it at a faster pace. You got to like spend it really quickly, really quickly, really quickly. So you missed a beat pretty hard here on generation. Like, for again, the reasons I explained. I want to make sure I keep rehashing, like retouching on that because again, the early game sets the pace for the late game every single time in this game in StarCraft 2. That's just how this game works. So if you did not fuck up the early game with the multiple reasons of your economy being set behind, you would be totally fine right now. This would not have fucked you over. Yo, Cats, thank you very much for the raid, dude. I'm doing a replay analysis right now, guys. Welcome, everybody. I'm helping. This is a gold level Zerg here that I'm helping learn how to not get fucked over. But Cats, much love, man. Hope you had a good stream. Thank you, dude. My man. And now your hydras are kind of just walking through it, so that's what I was talking about with the rally points. Like, this is never going to go well for you because all that's happening is you keep getting your army reset, and you're allowing him to reset. Like, your army gets reset repeatedly, and you're not allowing his interceptors to reset because you keep walking into them. So what I mean by that is his interceptors have not once ever went back into the carriers, which if they do, and then you engage with your hydras, then you can actually take a better fight because they're not all out at once. They have to come out one by one by one by one. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have +1 weapon hydras versus +1 weapon carriers, and there's 4 carriers versus hydras, if he didn't have his interceptors out and he was going to engage you as he engages you, all 4 carriers start unloading one by one by one. You could probably beat 4 carriers with like 13 hydras. Honestly, I bet 13 hydras could, like, somewhere in that range, maybe 13 to like 15, somewhere in there, could beat 4 carriers. Because you would kill the interceptors and then you would deplete them so fast that most of the hydra DPS would stay alive, and it would put the carriers to a point where the carriers would actually deplete themselves and not have any DPS left over anymore. Because if you kill the interceptors, it takes a while to replace that shit. It's 9 seconds per fucking interceptor. But remember how, like, and just keep in mind, against 4 carriers, I just said about 13 to 15 hydras, right? However, if you fight 4 fucking carriers that have all of their interceptors already out at the start of the fight, they're all out already. It's not 13 or 15 hydras anymore that could beat that. It's probably more like 20 to like 24. You would need probably like, honestly, like I would say 22 would be a good guess. Probably 22 fucking Hydras to be able to beat 4 carriers that have fully sent out their interceptors that are all ready to just insta-kill fucking Hydras. Not trickle damage in as they initially unload and then let like a third of the interceptors die before they're all actually out of the carriers. Or like a fourth of the interceptors die before they're all actually out of the carrier. I hope that concept makes sense. Because you get like if all the interceptors are already out, they all like attack the same target like immediately. It's just Hydra's fucking dead, explodes in 1 second. Whereas if the carriers are initially engaging and they unload, it's not like a Hydra just dies. It has to wait until they're all unloaded. Okay? Like it's, and you can kill them as they unload. So like by the time number 8 has unloaded, number 1 and 2 are already dead. That's why that works differently like that. And now, this is kind of like point of return, like I said before. This is brutal for you. Because so many Hydras have died, and if you don't ever fix this rally point, it's just going to keep happening. And now there's 5 carriers. So it's spiraling out of control for you. So remember how I said if you would have just kept your Hydras, like re-rally your Hydras, re-rally your Hydras, re-rally your Hydras, re-rally your Hydras, you could have actually not lost a bunch of Hydras like you keep losing Hydras here. And you could have actually had a point where, I mean, you're making them like 12, 13, 14 at a time. You could have had a point where you could have maybe had like 30 Hydras. And you could have then gone, all right, all Hydras, go now. And you could have, but very potentially, broke the fucking interceptors. It would have been harder because they're already out. Because you let that happen. But there's a very good chance you could have broken that. The rest not that interesting anymore? Oh, I know you're dead. I 100% know how this game's going to end now. You keep walking into the carriers with low Hydra counts and they just keep dying. And these carriers have not once, ever since they engaged the fight, they have not once gone back into the carrier yet. Because you keep giving him shit to kill. And just so you know, I'm not surprised if this dude doesn't have a third base. He doesn't have a third base. This is a 2 base all in. Like if you shut down the first carrier wave with your Hydras, you would have had a point where you would have been at like 200 supply and the Protoss would have been at like 105. And it would have been a situation where it would have been like 6 carriers versus like 6D Hydras. Or like 55 Hydras. And that is not good for carriers. 55 Hydras versus like 6 carrier. The carriers will probably kill a total of like 7 Hydras in that whole army. Like 6 or 7 Hydras would die. And then all the interceptors would be dead. And then you just A-move his base and he would never be able to stop you ever again. Like he would just, his base would just die. Oh yeah. Good shit. Yo. Lundrell, thank you for doing an analysis. I hope this helps you guys understand more about how shit works. But again, this is not a game. Like, all the things I told you were ways that you could fix it if you make a problem for yourself. But I just want you to really know, this problem would have been irrelevant if you just macroed properly. You just needed to macro properly. And you kind of missed the beat on that. I think the carriers hit you like at 7 minutes. And also, you did the greedy thing of going for drones for your 4th as well. Like, before taking safety units for your 3rd. Like, after your 3rd, rather. Like, this is super greedy. But he doesn't actually attack you until 7:25. Like, he really gets here at, like, 7:25. This is not super early. You could have 100% have had more units by now. 100%. Than you do. This is pretty late. And there's nothing has harassed you either up to this point. But yeah, good shit. Lundrell, much love for doing a replay analysis. Overall, like just the little tweaks for your economy, and suddenly that game becomes like a, it's like a mosquito. You just fucking slap that shit. It's over, and you're good to go. So don't feel like it should be overwhelming. It definitely shouldn't be. Your macro is why you lost. You fix that, and everything will be fine. So thank you for doing analysis again, Lundrill, and thank you guys for watching, everyone who watched. Hope this helps you as well. And until next time, guys, good luck in your own games, and I will see you next time. Peace, guys. Peace.